Hello, everyone. Sorry it took me a minute to get started. For some reason, it was being very slow. So I don't know if you can tell, but I did get a sunburn, and I am not happy about it. And the worst part of my sunburn is not my nose, is the top of my head. Ow. And the top of my feet. So, yeah. It was a weekend, guys. So I had two markets this weekend. One on Saturday that went from 11 to 6, which really means 8 to 7 because, you got to get there early to set up and then you can't take down until the market's over. And so, yeah, it ended up being closer to 8 to 7. Thankfully, while that market was super slow, like I've never experienced a market that slow. Of course, there were only four. There were only four artists. But we were at my friend's antique store. So there were other people coming through, but most of the artists had backed out, which is lovely. But even aside from that, with it being so dead, like we would have 30 plus minutes where nobody came back there. I still made a lot more money than I expected to. I exceeded my expectations for the entire weekend just on Saturday. But then Sunday, yesterday was awful. Yesterday was really awful. Not only was I exhausted from getting home at 7 o'clock after being in the hot sun all day, then I had to get up at about 5 the next day and hurry and eat and get ready because then we had to leave at 6:15 in the morning. And that market got over at 2. So yeah, that was like a 6 to 3. So I'm super exhausted. Also yesterday it was really cold. Like last week we were in the high 90s. We even had a day where we were 100. And yesterday I don't think it even hit 60 degrees by the time I left the market, which means it was like high 30s when we got there. And it was windy and it was raining and it was awful. And this is a market that I did last year too. So I know it's typically a good market. It was really busy, which was strange. It's probably the busiest I've ever seen that market. And I made $40. So you never can tell. It was awful. Meta, was it cold for you too up there? We were in Eden. I don't know if you know where that is. Eden, it's this really cool little mountain town that it's not part of my town, Ogden, but everybody calls where Eden is Ogden Valley, even though it's on the other side of the mountain from Ogden. I don't know. But yeah, it's always a little colder there than it is here, but not by that much. So yeah, it was really crazy temperature shifts. I think the high yesterday was like 66. So we had about a 35-degree temperature drop from, I think it was Thursday when it was 100. So yeah, that was rough. Oh yeah, see you were pretty close to us except Saturday. It was in the 70s here. It was like, I don't know, 73 or something like that. So it was a little bit warmer. Anyway, so I'm really worn down today. And I didn't have any time or mental capacity to think of anything to do today. So we're doing a Q&A because I promised you we were coming back today and we are. So yeah, whatever you guys want to ask. I know Ilya put some questions in Discord, and I will make sure to hit those too. Um, yeah, pop any questions to hear. Saturday was hot and Sunday was cold and windy. Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me. I'm glad it was all over the place. Um, so I want to show you because I didn't, like I said, Saturday was good. One woman alone was like, I'll take that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. She literally bought 5 paintings. So that was great. But I made 4 paintings last week that I took with me, and that was the most that I've painted all year. Trust me, it's been rough. But I loved these paintings so much. They were a little bit different for me. I used some gold leaf and a little bit of metallic paint, and that's not something I ever do. I've typically said I don't like metallic. But I was trying to break out of a comfort zone and just mix things up a little bit. And so I tried some gold leaf, and friends, let me tell you, this girl's hooked. So 2 of the 4 paintings were, I thought they were amazing. I loved them. And of course, they sold before I could photograph them for realsies. So all you get is cruddy, glary photos that I took on my table right before the paintings went to their new home. So I'll show you those real quick. Use this time to think of questions, and then I'll go get Ilya's questions. So here's one of them. It just looks yellow. Let's see, we'll go over here. It just kind of looks yellow where the gold is. But I loved this one. Oop. The only colors I used aside from gold, I think I did use a little bit of Payne's Gray. Good grief, that just looks so awful on the camera. I think I used a little bit of Payne's Gray, and then I used purple and green with the gold and loved it. And then the other one was, let's see, I'm sorry, this one. I almost considered not selling this one. I really, really, really liked this one. But when the money comes out, you say, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and sell that. So this one was also the purple and green with the gold. I think my use of Payne's Gray in these was very, very minimal. It's hard to get a solid chromatic black on such a vivid, sparkly background, so I did have to use a little bit. And then this is the one that I still have. It's another crappy photo. I think I have a better photo of these. Yeah, here's a little bit of a better photo of these ones on my easel. These were the first ones I did, and this was just like my standard turquoise QBO. This one sold. This one I still have, but that's it. Look at the way the turquoise layers over that gold. You could see the gold reflecting through there. It was nice, if I do say so myself. So, yeah. So I was kind of sad that I sold them because I didn't get to enjoy them for very much time. In fact, the purple ones I varnished Saturday morning before I went to the market. So, thanks everybody. I'm glad that you like it. Tips on how to use them. So in my experience, metallics are pretty transparent. You can use them in a lot of ways. One of the ways you can use them is to mix it with your colors. Like instead of using matte medium, you can use a little bit of metallic to kind of thin down your colors and give them a bit of sparkle. If you want a really intense, like a really sharp, bright point, you either have to use the metallic very, very thick or use some gold leaf. Like here, let me jump back over here. Here, so in this painting, in the distance, there's no gold leaf here. I had to apply the metallic paint very thick, so that's a little textury. Otherwise, it just kind of looks like this. Just kind of a suggestion of it there, which is nice. You want a little bit of variation. You don't want everything to be like solid gold or completely, transparent. Give a little punch here and there of something bright. Do the gold in a tutorial? Oh, all right. All I have right now is gold leaf, but they also make silver and copper, and they have one that's almost like oil slick rainbow. Do you know what I mean? Like when you heat certain metals, how it kind of gets those rainbowy lines. They make gold leaf like that too. So yeah, maybe I'll go to the craft store and see if I can find some other colors, because I don't want everything to be gold, but I'd like to work on it again. Yeah, we won't call it a tutorial. Hang on. I don't know why this computer is so, like, I get pop-ups, program pop-ups constantly, like, oh, upgrade for these prizes or whatever. And I wish I could turn it off, but I don't know how. And why does the desk say hi? Because I didn't have anything to put on it today. Like usually I have a canvas or paper or materials or something, but it was just going to look like that. And I was like, no, we're going to say hi straight out of the gate. You're going to try some gold leaf overlay on some prints. Excellent. Do you have that system worked out, or is that something you need some help on, Tammy? Yeah, a jar of flakes. No, I have the sheets, but when you apply it, there's always something that's going to rub off. So I do have a little jar of the flaky bits too. I would use the flaky bits when you just want like almost like a little bit of a sparkle, kind of randomy. Like you can paint down some matte medium or something, sprinkle a little bit of the flakes on it. You can tap it down with your hand if you want, or just let it dry as it lays. And then when it's done, you just use your hand once it's dry and brush off the excess that's not stuck down. So it's pretty, on one hand, it's pretty easy to use. Like the complexity of using it is not that bad. But on the other hand, it's kind of a P in the A, if you know what I mean, to use, because it's so thin and transparent. Not transparent, but it's just like if your fingers are even a little sweaty, it will stick to your fingers and you'll try and get your finger off, and instead you'll just rip the foil. And so it can be a bit of a test of patience, but it's pretty good. Yeah, nice. I think in my experience, the best medium to use for like art to get gold leaf down is to use matte medium. That's what I use. So try some matte medium and see what you think. And if you find a different material that you like to use, then let us know. Okay, let's go look at Ilya's questions. And we'll get some of them answered for you guys. And I am still so exhausted. Like, I slept for almost 12 hours last night, but very poorly. I did not sleep well. And later today, I have scheduled a session with my personal trainer at the gym. And I can't cancel it because I canceled it last week in order to get ready. So this is the makeup, and I don't want to cancel the makeup. So Anyway, oh, gilding adhesive. Yeah, I've heard of that. Never used it, but let me know how you like it. Where is it? There it is, Discord. Ilya brought the power with the questions today. How to turn value into color. All right. So let's start with that one. How to turn value into color. The way you turn value into color is by training yourself. That's really what it is. Hang on one sec. I know I have my little value chart that I showed you before. Pretty sure it's still over here. Because I don't use that all that often anymore. So it should still be over here where we were talking about it last time. I know you guys aren't surprised that I can't find it because I'm a complete mess. It's not over there, right? No, I did not take it over there. Oh, friends. Anyway, I can't find it. All right, give me 2 seconds. Here. Just instead of watching me be like a complete catastrophic mess, running around like a chicken, my head cut off, just look at hi, and I will keep talking to you. Okay. Yep, everybody wants some value to color. So I am going to find that stupid value chart. I know it's here somewhere. Are you looking at my shoulder? Oh my gosh. So, part of what's been going on with me lately, because Ilya also asked, how am I doing with, working with you guys and doing all my stuff, and, how are things going for me in that way? And the honest answer is pretty good, but I am still struggling a bit. Hang on, I'm going to walk to the other side of the room. Okay, I guess that thing just disappeared. I don't have it anymore. So, we're just going to talk about it. Move my mess away. Hello again. Okay, so changing value to color is really something you have to train yourself to do. It's a way that you interpret the colors that you see. So I am still kind of looking for it. I don't know. Anyway, so if you get a value, like a value chart, and I will, oh, I thought I found it. Let me just find one. You can buy these, you can make them. I made mine. It's basically a strip that has all of the values, black to white in order. And there's a hole why is my phone so loud today? Good grief. There's a hole in it, and so it might kind of look like that, but with a hole in it. And when you take that and you lay it down over a color, any color at all, like let's say this green, okay? So you lay the chart over it so that the hole, you can see the green through the hole. And then you're going to squint your eyes just a little bit, just until all of the detail goes away. And things really do almost become black and white when you do that. Like my eyes are almost completely closed. And you look at it. Look at where that color peeks through the hole. If you can see that square, that means that it's either lighter or darker than that value. So you'll move it to the next one, and you'll do that until when you squint and you look at it, you cannot see the difference between the value of the hole and the value of the square. Does that make any sense at all? Hang on. I can probably give you an example without finding that stupid color chart. I have a piece of gray paper here. Let's just, good grief, I don't even have my scissors because I took them with me. You guys are so awesome to be so patient with me and just not run screaming because I'm not professional or put together or anything. So anyway, I was saying, I have still been struggling a little bit. But I went last week, I had my first appointment with a therapist. So that's a big step for me. That's not something that I've ever done before. And while at that therapy session, he just handed me an ADHD diagnosis. So he's like, yeah, friend, you got some ADHD. So I honestly think that that has been my biggest struggle. I think that that's where the vast majority of my burnout has come from. I have been, when I first started making videos, I was like hyper fixated on it. I'm going to learn to paint. I'm going to make these videos. This is so much fun. It's the only thing I wanted to do. And it's the only thing I thought about. And hyperfixation is a big part of ADHD. And I definitely get hyperfixated on things very easy. But after a while, you get a little burnt out because part of what making videos was for me, there is a lot of masking. And if you're not familiar with masking, it is basically kind of putting a version of yourself forward that might not necessarily reflect who you are. But it's not like a catfishing thing. It's not like, I'm going to make these guys think that I'm this kind of person. It's not. It's more about, I need to hide these things about myself because it will be off-putting. I don't want to seem weird. I don't want people to dislike me. So there's a lot of that goes on, and that's extraordinarily stressful. And so over the years, I think that burnout really took away the joy from painting and replaced it with a lot of stress and anxiety, like so much that it almost completely took painting away from me. It really can be a superpower, Meta. You're right. But not when you don't know, and not when you are trying to live in a world that's not made for you, basically. So I never believed in ADHD. I was one of those people who was like, oh, it's just people don't know how to parent their kids, and so they give them drugs. And I am very offended that I was that person. But I never thought that I could have ADHD. And the more I've learned about it now, so that's also part of, what's been going on is having that knowledge and then like learning so much about it. I think that there's a lot of there's just a lot of stuff to process. You know, it's, you think, oh, they give you an ADHD diagnosis, and then you're like, oh, that's why I'm weird. But there's more than that, because then you start thinking back to times in your life where this happened or that happened, and how that was definitely a product of this, and it just brings up a lot of emotions. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, Ilya, that's how I'm doing lately. But I think we'll be good. It's just a little hard right at first to kind of, absorb that and process it and say, okay, now what? Like, where do we go from here? And so thankfully I've got, some therapy sessions coming up, and yeah. Anyway, so all of my mess and all of my scatterbrainness and all of that, guys, we now have a reason why. It's not just Jane trying to be lazy or having nothing to offer you. It's my brain going, nope, that's not a good idea. That's a stupid idea. They're going to hate that. That's a bad idea. So anyway, and I just talked and you guys were talking and I was ignoring you. So, yeah. Any hyperfixates too? Yep. Thank you, you guys. Such nice comments. I really appreciate it. What's that one? And I'm glad to see that several of you are also ADHD. That makes me feel quite a lot better. And I love all of you guys with all of my heart. I really do. I love being with you guys. It really is fuel for me. You guys keep me inspired and motivated, and you keep me accountable. Even if you're not like coming out and saying you have to do this, whatever, just knowing that I have you guys waiting for me to, do my thing, that does keep me on track. Without that, who knows? My ADHD would take over, my executive function would crash out, and I would do nothing. So thank you. Anyway, yeah, Meta, for reals. They understand you the best. And what else is interesting is once you're diagnosed with it and you learn about like what it really is, you can spot it in other people. You're all, ooh, you're ADHD, aren't you? Yeah, it really is the first step to find solutions. It really is. So that's kind of the road I'm on right now, and it'll be good, but it's probably not going to be easy. Anyway, shall we talk about values? So I took this sheet of gray paper. This is probably a value 9, I would say. It's maybe an 8. It's not white, but it's not a dark gray at all. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, that's part of masking, is struggling in silence. And that's why it's so stressful and it's so hard, and it's really emotionally damaging. But I also don't want to be like, guys, I'm so sad, I'm so stressed out, or you know what I mean? Like, I can't feed you that every time I talk to you either. So, there will always still be, I'm sure something fell. A bit of masking, just because I don't want to be that person. Okay, so we're going to take this. Let's use this as an example. You see how you can see this black through the square? Squint your eyes at the screen really hard until color detail goes away. All you can see is light and dark. Notice how you can easily see that square. Okay, so we know that this surface is not the same value as this. We can tell by looking at it, but what about a color? So let's look at this again. And I'm going to put that over there. Again, we can tell that that's probably not the same value, but we're going to squint our eyes at it, and it is pretty dark. It's definitely not this value. So let's find a couple of other things here in my mess that we can test the value on. What about, I have a receipt from buying yarn. Well, throw that down. So without squinting at it, what do you think, without squinting, is this green, is it the same value as the paper, or is it darker, or is it lighter? So let me know what you think. I'm going to leave it there. I want somebody to answer before we move on. I'm going to find some other things here that we can test. Here's something. Okay. Squinting hurts your eyes. I know it doesn't feel real great when you do it a lot, but I do it a lot. Oh, here. I got my... told you guys, I'm a mess. Why do I have this clock sitting here? It doesn't even work. I don't know. Okay, it's the same. It's lighter. All right, so let's squint at it. Really, really tight. It's pretty close, but when I squint really hard, I can still see the green. And it's definitely a little bit lighter. Definitely one step lighter. So then if I had my actual chart with the holes in it, then I would look at it with the next lighter hole and see, can I see it through there? And maybe it'll appear slightly darker. And then I know that it's kind of between the two. So let's try some of these. I have my my color aids. So squinting is worth the pain. Okay, let's try this one. Darker, lighter. So if I squint, oh, it's a lot darker. I would say that's probably 2 or 3 levels darker. So Ilya, to your question, and anyone else who struggles with that, when I showed you my value chart before, you might have noticed there were little spots of paint on each of the colors. So if you're painting and you've done your value map, you've got your essentially black and white image, and now you want to put color on it, but you're mixing the color and you're like, I don't know. Get your value chart, hold it up to the area that you want to paint. So like, let's say you're doing a portrait and it's the highlight on the cheek here. So hold it up so that you can determine the value there that you want. And then as you're mixing your color, take a little daub of paint and wipe it on there. Remember that acrylic dries darker than it looks when it's wet. So it might look the exact color and value that you want, but when it dries, it's going to be darker. So take some of that color, just paint it on the paper, squint your eyes at it, see if you can see it, but wait for it to dry first, because it'll dry. Some colors will dry 2, 3, maybe even more shades darker. Let's try this one. What about that? Is it lighter, darker, same? I know how that goes, Ilya. Sometimes you have to hear it several times. Yeah, they're cheap, and then like I said, you can really make them yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna squint really hard at that. Ooh, I can just barely see that square. I'm gonna say it's about a half a step lighter. So you can buy those value finders. You can make them, whatever, but it's a super helpful tool. And yeah. And get in the habit, maybe when you get a value finder, maybe carry it around with you for a few days or a week or whatever. And whenever you have a second, just pull it out and like, oh, let's test the value of this. Let's see where this falls on there. It'll just help you practice and kind of get used to analyzing a color's value a little bit more. If you printed one, would it still be correct? I mean, it would be more correct than not. So yeah, Tammy, that's a good point. I think there are actually downloadable, and if you guys want, if you can't find one, I'll just make one for you. A downloadable value finder. Then you just cut out the little squares, and yeah. You guys want me to do that, or do you think that you've got it? I'm going to go find another question. You let me know if you want me to make that for you. Okay, let's see. You found one with a lanyard? Perfect. How to make something or someone look three-dimensional. That's a big conversation, but I think that we can easily do just like a little, whatever. My brain just shut off. Okay, so when you think about something, one of the hardest things to get your head around when you start painting, it takes a while to kind of get your head around this. And that is not painting 3D. Stop trying to look at something and making it look 3D, because translating something three-dimensional into something two-dimensional, it doesn't help to like look at your object and you're like, how do I make this 3D? You still want to think of everything: a person's face, a cloud, a blade of grass, a house. You want to think of everything that you're going to paint as value, color, shape. That's it. So let's talk about, I think this might be just a little hot. There we go. Let's talk about, I've got my microphone sitting in front of me. Here, I'll just show you what it looks like. This is what my microphone, it kind of looks like RJD2. No, that's a band. R2D2. So there's my microphone. And it's definitely got a cylindrical shape, and I can tell it's 3D when I look at it. So let's see how we're going to make that look 3D. So my sketching skills are not top-notch, but let's see. I have been taking like a sketching course when I can get around to it. And it's all about like sketching loose. So it's not that I like, my hand doesn't shake. I'm doing that on purpose. It's not exact. Do not judge my stupid drawing skills. There's some words. Here's a button and some words, and here's the knob, and then it's got some sides. All right. So here is my one-dimensional microphone. Okay. So how we're going to make this look 3D is we're going to look at the shape of the microphone here. This is very reflective. And the way we're going to make it look 3D is by paying attention to the shapes, the values, the colors. So when I look at my microphone, I can see that right about here, there's a shadow that comes from the little sock thing. And it kind of wraps around there. And it's got a hard line. And then beneath that, we do have kind of another line where there's another shadow. Over here, there's another one. There's a bit of a highlight right here. So we're going to do another line here where there's another shadow. I'm not worried about making it look 3D. I'm worried about getting the shadows and the highlights where I see them. This shadow bends right here because the microphone is curved. And it bends here a little bit. There's a bit of a highlight right there. So, and a little bit down here. So then if I kind of shade this a bit, keep my shadows soft where they're soft and hard where they're hard. Got a little bit of a deeper shadow right here. This one kind of curves around a bit. Drawing those lines to show you where the shadows were has kind of thrown everything off, but another shadow here. So even with my completely imperfect drawing and just quick, crappy highlighting, you can see that it does have a little bit more. It's pretty bad. Even the microphone puff at the top, there's like a bit. Let's see, it's pretty dark over here. It's much darker right here. But that dark doesn't go all the way over. Much darker there. It blends up. So it's really your shadows and your lights that are going to help you get something 3D. But don't approach it in that way. Don't say, okay, I got to make this look 3D. Just find the shadows and the lights and the relationship between them. How do they work together? You know, is the transition from light to shadow very soft like this, or is it a much harder line like that? And it's those little things that are going to help you call something 3D or get your viewer to see it as something 3D. It does look like R2-D2. A lot like R2-D2. And really pay attention to values. So it is quite dark right there. And it's quite dark right there. And don't be afraid to get your values dark. You know, if the value that you're seeing is very dark, make it very dark on here. The more contrast you have, and I'm even going darker with these values in some places because that helps the vibe that I'm going for. It helps say this is a 3D object. There's a curve right here. That's why it goes from a slightly lighter color to a darker color. This is a very hard shadow. You just really want to start looking at the nuances of everything. Let's even darken this. The shadow's not quite that dark in real life, but it helps give it that feeling. So anyway, it does not look great, but it looks a lot more 3D than it did when I first sketched it. Does that answer your question? Does that help? It's going to be mostly about your values. That's how you're going to make something look 3D. That's how you're going to describe that. The way that your values move, your shadows and your highlights, that can help you say this is a curved surface. So if you're like painting someone's face, let's say, and they have a shadow on their cheek rather than going like that, which can make it look pretty flat, you know. Pay attention. Does the shadow kind of move a bit more like that, which would indicate that the cheek has a curve? Around the nose, I know it's tempting to, if you've got like a nostril like that and there's a shadow on the other side, it's tempting to kind of do the shadow like that, but really look at it. Does the shadow look like that? You might have your nostril like that, but the shadow is more like that kind of a shape. And so you want to follow like the pattern of the skin. Like that. Instead of like that. Okay? So break everything down into color and value. And that's why we do the value painting beforehand, because it helps us set those things. It helps us understand the contours as well as the values. Yeah, and then from here, if I wanted to paint that, I just fold over because, you know, but you would get your value scale. Oh, what color is the highlight there? Oh, it's a little bit darker, just barely darker than this. What color is my shadow here? So, oh, you have a portrait example? Okay. Excuse me. Ooh, you guys move fast. How's the painting of the girl going? She is in painting jail. Okay. Might has been doing portraits. What did you want me to look at here? See my black and white portrait example. Okay. That looks lovely, but that's not black and white. Okay, here we go. Tried black and white to help me with identifying values. Okay. Yeah, I see. So, my advice, and I know this is going to be scary, Meta, and you see this a lot in portraits from people who are starting. First of all, let me say that you're drawing, like, here, come back to here. Where did it go? Why did it disappear? You're drawing, top notch. Very, 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 very nice drawing. Your values, on the other hand, need a little bit of work. So you did great on the background, her eyes, her lips, you know, really nice. But look at how pale the values are around her nose. I know it feels weird to put these super dark values in there. You feel like, oh, I'm going to make her have like a big black spot on her nose. But look at how dark those values are around her nose, how bright it is, like on the edge of her nostril. It's so dark back here. Her hair has like some of the darkest values are in her hair. It's almost not even a different value from the background. I would say right here is just about as dark as right there. Same with her lips. Very, very dark. These spots on her nose, they're a little lighter than that background, but I wouldn't say by a ton. So again, it's scary. The first time, you know, when you're first doing portraits, to be like, I see a really dark spot there, but I am so scared to put that dark spot there. Put it there. And identify those values all throughout and put them there. It will not look weird. I promise it won't. Did I close that? Why would I close that? Okay, hang on. Let me see. One more thing. Okay. One other thing. It's the same. Her face is, and the good news is, Meta, you don't have to start over. Just get those pencils and get going back on this one. Her face is, let me see if we can see it better this way. pretty pale, pretty washed out, which takes away a lot of emotion and detail and all of that. And if we notice how dark her face actually is, there's a lot of dark. I don't know why it keeps blowing my phone camera colors out. Nothing on her face, save maybe this little sparkle in her eye, little highlights here and there. Nothing is pure white on this image. I would say I would keep any pure white into her eyes, maybe some threads of her hair, and maybe a bit of her shirt. But her face is just shades of gray, and I would say that right there is probably about a 7. It's pretty dark. Let's see about her. Oh yeah, even like right here, this is darker than this paper. So don't be scared. Get your pencils and get in there, girl. You can do it. I have faith in you. Okay, guys, if you have any other questions, we have about 10 minutes left. I have to go to the gym today, which I'm not looking forward to because I'm exhausted, but I have to. So let me just see what else you guys were saying, and let me know if you have any last questions. I have a question. It doesn't look like kindergarten, Elia. It looks like you're practicing. It looks like you're learning it, and it takes time. You know, just because we get a little bit of art experience under our belt, and you know, bye Janice, thanks for coming. Our sketching skills have improved and all of those things doesn't mean that you're not doing it right if it doesn't come out exact. It means that there's a process of practice that has to happen, and you're in that process. And I would say that you are rocking, you know, keep doing what you're doing. I like your first portrait, Meta. I would say for a beginner, that's so good. Really. Don't ever talk about your art as being kindergarten, 3rd grade, things like that. Don't say things like that about yourself. That's another thing that I've really learned. And I mean, I've always known it, but I have come to understand, like I think I've finally absorbed the information. When you speak poorly of yourself, when you say those things about your art, I know that for me anyway, saying things like that, it comes from a place of protection. If I recognize that this sucks before you do, you can't hurt me. You can't throw it in my face that it looks like kindergarten because I already told you it did. But that's damaging to you. And if somebody else said, that looks like kindergarten, even if you thought, well, that doesn't hurt me, I don't care what that person says, it does hurt you. And saying it to yourself hurts you too. And it makes you become very critical of your work. It's okay. I'm not saying you can't recognize things you don't like, but there's a way to do it. You know, instead of saying, this looks like a kindergartner did it or a 3rd grader did it, instead say, this is my first attempt and I think it's pretty good for my first attempt. Here are some things that I really like about it. Here are some things that I need to work on. Don't say, I don't like this part. Just say, oh, I feel like I need to work on values, or I need to do this or that. But don't demean yourself. Yeah, and I like that. You said that it can be painted over, but you keep it around to remind yourself of your progress, and that's excellent. Fixative. You know, I don't do a lot of chalk. I don't do a lot of it, and I think I've sprayed fixative on a chalk image like once. So I really don't know. I'm sorry. I would say do one. Don't soak the paper because it will darken everything. Do like one layer, and then after it's completely dry, like maybe the next day, gently touch in an area where you think it won't matter if it smears, and see if any of the chalk residue is coming off on your finger. If it is, give it another spray, but I would imagine one or two would be enough. Be as nice to yourself as you are to others. Except, Annie, there are people who are like, well, if I see something wrong, I'm going to tell you, and it's constructive criticism, and if you don't like it, then you just don't want to learn. Like, there's people like that, and I do not like people like that. So, let's be as nice to yourself as you would be to your younger self. Picture little Annie, 5, 6 years old, just scribbling on a paper, and she brings it to you, Annie, and it's got, the sun up in the corner, and the mommy and the daddy, and they have like 28 fingers, because that's what I used to do. Everybody had like a million fingers. And what would you say to her? Would you criticize it? Would you say, this looks like garbage? No, you'd take little Annie and you'd say, this looks so good. You're doing such a good job. Because you know that it's the doing that's important, not the finished product, Anyway. So, yeah, let's see. Let me just scroll back through here. Oh, you've got what is that, Tammy? Is that, the gilding liquid? Like the adhesive? Oh, I like that with the broken edge. I don't know if you guys saw this. I'm going to show you what Tammy posted with the gold leaf on the edge of her canvas. I really like that broken edge on it. I got the idea to do my gold leaf on my paintings because I've been doing it on edges a little bit. Yeah, you guys with your value charts, you guys are rad. I love that you guys share information and resources with each other. That really makes me happy. I appreciate that. All right. If nobody has anything else, then I'm going to let you go and I guess try and drag myself to the gym. Okay, I have my cozy sweatshirt on. Vince hates this sweatshirt. It was his because it started doing this because I did it. And now it's like my emotional support hoodie. He was going to throw it away, and I said, no, that is now my hoodie. So you can tell when I'm wearing this hoodie that it's one of those days. Taking the leap from drawing to painting a portrait, what would you say are the best techniques that apply to both mediums? Values. 100%. Because if you think about it, you can render a perfectly realistic image in nothing but black and white. But it's really hard to do it. It's probably almost impossible to do it without considering value at all, going into like straight into color. So yeah, really understanding values, that's going to be the thing that you need to focus on the most between those two. Yeah, hashtag Team Vince. I am hashtag Team Vince. So, all right, my friends. Well, I'm going to let you go. I should write goodbye or just bye. Let's do that real quick. B-Y-E. And we'll probably do a live painting at some point this week. And yes, I always paint my values first. When we do a live painting later this week, Meta, I will, I'll make sure to cover that. But yep, I always paint my values first. And I don't know, that might be Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday when we do a live. So, all right, my friends, I love you all very, very much, and I will see you later.